Okay, we will get started here. The first thing is just to make sure you know that you can contact us at any point. We'll have contact information at the end, and you can also check us out at our web address, which is internships.international.wisc.edu. Please also excuse any technical difficulties. I'm getting an error message there, which you probably just saw. Hopefully we won't have too many interruptions with that today. Finally, we just want to get started with a brief history of the International Internship Program here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and to tell you a little bit more about the purpose of the seed grants, which were funded by WEDC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. We'll also be talking about what is an internship, what makes a good internship, how do we at the university define it, and see if it's a good match for you. We'll be briefly walking through the application with some tips and where to find more information, including on the section about position descriptions, which is not the key or it's not the only aspect on which applications will be determined, but we really like to get a good idea in the application process about the type of internship you're thinking about, and the position description is really key for this. Finally, we hope to be able to have time for questions and answers at the very end. Okay, so IIP, the International Internship Program here at the UW-Madison, was started only about 4.5 years ago. It's a relatively new program, and it came about as part of the Madison Initiative for Undergraduates, which is what I'll talk about in a little bit more detail shortly. But the mission of this office is to advance well, we identify, cultivate, and promote high-quality internship opportunities. We really have a goal of trying to advance the professional training of our students, but as an extension of the classroom. We really hope to reinforce what they are learning here on campus through practical application. And an important piece of that is really to develop their global competency skills. The program came about, as I said, just 5 years ago. It was proposed, and it was jointly proposed by our advisory board, mostly made up of business people who were really calling for more global perspective, more international and intercultural skills amongst graduates. That's what they were seeking in employees. And we also had a demand from students who were looking for something beyond traditional study abroad. Either they had been abroad on a study abroad program and they wanted to go back and become more immersed in the society and work or volunteer, or it was from a demand from students who couldn't otherwise fit study abroad easily into their schedule. They had an internship requirement or a desire to gain practical work experience, and so it was a way to combine those experiences. So programmatically, what does that mean to identify, cultivate, and promote? Well, first of all, we look at including in our information that we give to students direct apply internships. Those could be existing programs that are already out there at major corporations, at places like the State Department. So we offer those experiences to students in the form of information, advising, and a link through a database that we have of opportunities. What we spend a lot of time on is cultivating positions specifically for Badgers. So these may be with companies that have never had an intern before. They don't, and this is perhaps some of you out in the in this webinar, that you've not had an intern, you don't really know how to make the best use of one. So we work with companies to try and do that, and positions specifically for our undergraduate students. These could be through alumni connections. They could be at Wisconsin-based companies, which is really the focus of this grant opportunity. Our faculty have connections. Either they've done research or consulting with many organizations around the world. And ideally, we'd like to cluster those opportunities so that it's easier for us to advise, to visit, but it's not a requirement that they're clustered in any one area. We do work around the world. We focus on student advising, so advising about those opportunities that we are aware of, but also helping students who are interested in finding their own opportunity, either through their own faculty connection, through a family network, or they are finding something online that they would like to participate in, and we can help them think about all of the logistics related to that. Finally, we spend a good deal of effort focusing on the academic internship, on how a student can earn credit for engaging in a practical work experience. The University of Wisconsin does not grant credit for the internship itself, but only for academic work done in relation to an internship. So we have a number of opportunities here on the Madison campus for students in domestic opportunities, but in IIP we have created the Worldwide Internship Program. So IIP is the name of our office, and WIP, Worldwide Internship Program, is the name of the credit-bearing opportunity that students can engage with through our office. That is in conjunction with our Study Abroad office here in the Division of International Studies, as well as faculty instructors in our our International Studies Department and our International Business Department. So in practical terms, again, what are the tasks that entails? With respect to the internship itself, we work both with companies and with students to define the goals. An internship should benefit both parties. It should definitely provide some needed labor work for the company that is hosting the student, but also should allow a student to have their own learning goals. And so we work on that. We also try and identify how long the internship will be, what the best timing is. So is it better in the summer? Maybe it's a spring or fall semester program. How many hours will the student work? And so these are all things that we can work out, and we don't mandate for the cultivated internships any particular format. We can, however, help guide you as to when we think that you'll get the biggest and best pool of candidates. So for us, it doesn't make much sense to offer a six-month internship between March and October, because that would mean a student would be away from campus for 3 full terms, spring, summer, and fall. It would be better, for example, to run that opportunity from July through December. And that would allow a student to really be away from campus for the fall term and add on the summer. Terminology is another thing that we try and clarify. This is something that is confusing even on our own campus. There are a number of terms that are used for the types of experiences that we work with. It could be a co-op, an internship, a practicum, a field experience. We don't really care too much about what it's called as long as it meets some of the requirements that we have for the definition of an internship as we see it, and I'll go through those shortly. So in our office, as I mentioned earlier, we have a database. So we list those opportunities both that we find, those existing opportunities that are out there and that we can connect students to, and the applications go directly to those organizations. But we also list the opportunities that we cultivate with Wisconsin and companies around, Wisconsin companies and other companies around the world. And we act as a first-line human resources office in the sense that we collect applications, we answer questions about those opportunities. And then if you have listed an opportunity with us, after the deadline we would make those available to you We do not match students to opportunities. We create a pool of candidates for you to select from. And we also can house those applications here, which serves a couple of purposes. That allows us to monitor the applications as they're coming in, to make sure they're appropriate, to make sure they're complete, and also if there are not so many coming in for a particular opportunity, we can go out to a particular department and try and do some direct marketing to try and get additional applicants. Alternatively, if there are so many applications coming up, we can let the host company know that it's going to be a lot of applications to go through. You may want to set aside more time to review them, that type of thing. We spend a good deal of time also on visa research and support. In some countries, students might need extensive paperwork showing both their bank account information, their student status, their language abilities, things like this. But in other cases, it's simpler. So we're here to help the companies and the students figure out what that is. Ultimately, the onus of getting the appropriate visa is on the student, and that's why we try to give as much lead time in the selection process as possible to make sure that the student is able to get the appropriate paperwork in order to work if the position is in another country. Of course, it's also possible that there could be a domestically located internship and with an international focus, and those we are very happy to list as well. In many cases, those are filled by Americans, so there's no question about visas. But if you were interested in hiring an international student, we can also help with that in the sense that we work with our International Student Services Office. We can advise a student on what paperwork they need in conjunction with that office. Financial aid and scholarships is something that we also help advise students on, and as well as the legal and risk issues. We do make sure that any student going on an internationally located internship has a standard insurance plan that is contracted with the University of Wisconsin system. So students who are going abroad have consistent information, and that is a policy that we are used to working with and can advise on. In terms of some of the legal issues, there are situations dependent upon the country or the company where you may want an agreement signed. Our office helps facilitate that. There are very few signers officially at the university, the chancellor and her designees, who can sign off on those types of agreements. They are considered contracts, and so our preference really is that if you do host an intern, it is between your company or your organization and the student directly. But if you need the university to be a third-party signer, and in some cases that is because of the country where the opportunity is located, and that's a requirement for the student to get the appropriate visa, we will help facilitate that. Again, however, that is important, or it leads into the timing issue. Again, needing to have as much lead time as possible so that we can move those through the appropriate channels here.